Anyway, needless to say, I'm a big Roz Chast fan, and I have been my whole adult life. And one of Roz Chast's cartoons that I keep thinking about all the time in this news environment that we are living in right now is this one. And she has done several cartoons on this theme of Venn diagrams, right? You got two circles and they overlap, and the overlap is usually where the joke is. But in this one, it's a Venn diagram, and on the left, the circle is labeled fun, and on the right, the circle is labeled boring. And in the Venn diagram overlap between fun and boring, that's Bob. Hi, Bob, who is fun and boring. I think about that all the time. The version of this that I keep in my head in this news environment, though there's a slight difference, though. The overlap isn't between boring and fun, as it is in the original. The overlap that I keep in my head is between boring and scary. Boring stories, scary stories. And there's one particular story that lives right in that overlap that I think about every day. It is the story of Donald Trump's return to the presidency that keeps popping up for me right there. It is unrelentingly boring and unrelentingly scary in equal measure. And I have thought about this story every day since it broke. And it is developing now. This is a story out of the federal prosecutor's office, the U.S. Attorney's office in Washington, D.C. If you have been following the news about the rule of law in the Justice Department under Donald Trump, you have noticed that a lot of bizarre stuff has been happening in that prosecutor's office ever since Donald Trump installed a guy there who was at January 6th. And now Trump has named him acting U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. His name is Ed Martin. And for at least some of the time that Ed Martin has been there, he was attempting to practice law in Washington, D.C. as the acting U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., despite the fact that he was not a member of the bar in D.C. in good standing. In one case, he wrote to a judge on behalf of the Justice Department, telling the judge to drop the charges against a particular defendant. In so doing, Ed Martin did not mention that he personally was also the defense attorney for that individual defendant. So he's the lawyer on both sides of that case. You can't do that. Ed Martin is the guy who said he wanted to open a criminal investigation into Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer and apparently tried to do so. Ed Martin is the guy who has sent off typo-ridden, bizarre, threatening letters to at least two other Democratic members of Congress, Congressman Robert Garcia and Congressman Eugene Vindman. Ed Martin is the guy who has posted bizarre, pseudo-legal fan letters to Elon Musk on Twitter, like this one, where he scratched out the typewritten address and wrote in by hand, "Dear Elon, Dear Elon, after your referral, as is my practice, I will begin an inquiry." In case you're wondering, no, that is not how prosecutors' offices are supposed to work. But just catch the flavor here a little bit of this thing. Quote, "Please let me reiterate again." Reiterate again, really. "Please let me reiterate again. If people are discovered to have broken the law or even acted simply unethically, we will investigate them and, all bold letters, we will chase them to the end of the earth to hold them accountable. We will not rest or cease in this. Noon is above the law." Noon. That's actually what he wrote. Noon is above the law. Get me noon. So things have been a little crazy at the top federal prosecutor's office in Washington, D.C. Even separate and apart from them firing all the career prosecutors and all the other things they've done, things have just been a little bit nuts at the top federal prosecutor's office in Washington, D.C. under Donald Trump. Noon! Noon! But when it comes to the overlap of scary and boring, not fun and boring, hi, Bob, but scary and boring, when it comes to that particular story out of this office, the thing that has happened at this one prosecutor's office that I think about every day is a story about them freezing a bank account, freezing a bunch of money in a Citibank account. And I know each of those syllables is more boring than the last. It's like impossible to even hold on to it in your head for a moment. Freezing a Citibank account? Why do I care? You know, part of the reason you could tell this was a really big deal when it first emerged is because it led to the shock resignation of the top criminal division lawyer in that prosecutor's office. She basically laid out when she resigned what had happened there. And in non-legalese, what it boiled down to is that Ed Martin, the Trump-appointed prosecutor, the guy who was at January 6th, who's now running that office, Martin appears to have ordered her to bring a criminal investigation when she said there was no evidence of a crime. Ed Martin, head prosecutor at that office appointed by Trump, told her to bring a criminal investigation. She said, no, there's no crime. You can't open a criminal investigation without evidence of a crime. He insisted. She resigned. She said publicly why she was resigning, to her credit. Ed Martin then tried to get another prosecutor's office to do it. They refused on the same grounds. Then Ed Martin himself said, okay, I'll do it. He has no background as a prosecutor, which is sometimes obvious in the way he behaves, even in court. In this case, he went to a judge saying, this is my criminal investigation for which I need a warrant to go seize that bank account. The judge said no. The judge said, no, hey, there is no probable cause that any crime has been committed here. No, you cannot have it. Nevertheless, somehow, the FBI and then the Treasury Department were enlisted in this caper, and they leaned on the bank. And the people whose funds were in that bank were denied their funds. They somehow pushed this through anyway. That's how they froze that bank account. And in itself, that sounds boring. But because of the way they did it, this seemingly boring thing is also the opening chapter of a very scary dystopian novel in which the government is seizing your phone records, obtaining all of your text messages and your emails and your iCloud, and maybe raiding your house and raiding your office, and they are taking or freezing the contents of your bank account when there is no probable cause that you have committed a crime. Because what there is a federal prosecutor's office that will do that stuff anyway, even when their own career prosecutors and a judge tell them there's no crime here, you can't do it. So like I said, this is, I recognize this seems like a boring story in terms of all the proper nouns involved here, right? But it is scary in terms of what this means. And I think about this case every day. And now we have had two important developments here. First of all, number one, they are in trouble in court now because of this case. A federal court has just ruled that nothing here seems kosher. Quote, there are serious due process concerns and questions of whether defendants' actions were arbitrary, capricious, an abuse of discretion, otherwise not in accordance with law, contrary to statute, or unsupported by substantial evidence. Quote, there are procedures that must be followed. Quote, defendants vaguely reference multiple ongoing investigations, but offer no specific information about such investigations, factual support for the decision, or an individualized explanation for each plaintiff. This is insufficient. Quote, defendants have not provided the credible evidence required. Quote, vague and unsubstantiated assertions are insufficient. So that's the first thing. This one boring, scary story that I think about every single day is now finally getting turned back by the courts, at least for now. Those funds are being reinstated into that bank account. And whether or not you care about that bank account being restored, whether or not you care about all the, frankly, boring particulars of this case, what is important here is that this one quite bananas prosecutor's office, for the moment, they have been stopped from doing the one thing that they were trying to get away with that really does afford the possibility of Trump just opening the floodgates against Democrats, protesters, journalists, government officials, potentially judges. They have finally been stopped, at least for the moment, from doing something that I think if they were able to do this, might reasonably result in a lot of people actually fleeing this country.